In this lecture, we're going to explore working with iframes. An iframe is an HTML document embedded inside another HTML document. Iframes are commonly used to insert content from another source into a web page. For the purpose of this lesson, we want to build a page that allows users to conduct searches on multiple search engines from a single page, as shown in this example. Here, we can search both ask.com and bing.com search engines, and the search results will load in their corresponding iframe. To begin, you'll need to open your text editor and create a basic HTML page, as shown here. Once complete, save your page as iframes.html anywhere on your computer. Next, we'll need to add our iframes into the page. An iframe can be added with the iframe tag. We'll add this tag into the body of our HTML document. This is the open iframe tag, and I'll also insert the close iframe tag. The iframe tag has different attributes we can apply. The first attribute is the iframe source. And that's the source of the web page that will be displayed within this iframe. Next, we can specify the width of the iframe. We'll use 100% as the width. And we can also specify a height. And for that, we'll use 400. Now, not all web browsers support iframes. So the next thing we want to do is we just want to include a line of code that will be displayed if the user's browser does not support iframes. So in this case, the user will know to either use a different browser or update their existing browser. So that's our first iframe. And we're going to copy this block of code and paste it. And this time just switch the iframe source attribute to bing.com, which is the other search engine we want to display. Now go ahead and save your file and preview this in your web browser. And as you can see, both pages, ask.com and bing.com, are displayed in the single HTML document and contained within an iframe. Now that you have a better understanding of HTML, it's a great time to practice by building a complete HTML page. In this project, we'll do just that. We'll employ all the knowledge we've gained to create the HTML homepage shown in this example. Before we get started on this project, it's important to understand a few things. This page will be built strictly in HTML to give you additional practice with coding. Since we have not yet covered CSS, the style of development we use to build this page will not be the most efficient. For example, we'll be using inline style formatting, which is considered outdated. In the CSS portion of this course, we'll create much more effective page layouts that are responsive with mobile devices. Using only HTML, we're limited in certain respects when it comes to the format and layout of our page. Without CSS, we'll need to insert all our objects inside table rows and columns. As we've mentioned earlier, using tables as layout containers has become a thing of the past. Though do keep in mind that understanding how to work with tables is still important when working with tabular data. Aside from that, we'll be employing many useful skills that will carry forward, such as object insertion, text formatting, form development, and basic styling. The first section of this page we'll build is the header, which contains the navigation labels. To get started, create a new file and save the file on your computer. You can name the file whatever you like. Also create your basic HTML page structure as shown here. Since this entire header is nested inside of a table, that's the first thing we'll create. So start by creating a table, and I'll go over this in just a second. I've created a table here, and the width is 100%, so it'll expand and contract with the web browser. The height is 60 pixels, 0 border, cell spacing of 5, and cell padding of 5 as well. Give it a background color of black, and so that's the hex code for black. Inside this table, create a single table row. Inside this row, create a single table column. And give it a line attribute set to left. So anything contained in this column will be aligned to the left. Okay, so we have a table created with one row and one column. Inside this table, we're going to create a nested table. So this nested table will have a fixed width of 547 pixels, border of 0, a center alignment because we want all the links aligned in the middle, and a cell padding and spacing of 1. Now each link will need to be situated inside its own column. So we'll have to create 5 columns inside this table. Here's the first column. It has a width of 96 pixels. We've also created a font attribute and set the face to Verdana, Geneva, and sans serif. The color of the text will be white, and we've placed the link label inside an H3 element, so it gives it a slightly larger font size. Then we close the font tag and close the TD, the column tag. Now you'll need to do this for all the remaining link labels. So it's the same code. The only difference is that the width for each column is slightly different because some labels are longer than others. And of course the label is also different for each item. Okay, and that's how that first section was created. So you can see it's fairly simple. With our header created, the next item we want to create is the callout bar. And that contains our website name and also a phone number where we can be reached. This entire section is contained within a table as well. And the text items are contained in a nested table with 2 columns. So let's go ahead and get started. Beneath our first table, I'm going to create another table. So just like the first table, I've given this table a width of 100%, so it expands and contracts with the web browser, a height of 150 pixels, border of 0, cell spacing and cell padding of 5, and the background color is a light gray color, and that's the hex code for the light gray color. Next, we'll need to create a table row. And inside this table row, we'll create a single table column. And we'll align the text inside this column. We'll give it a center alignment. Okay, so we have our table created. You can see the light gray background. And this table has one row and one column. Inside this column, we're going to nest the table that contains our text. So remember, the nested table will have two columns. So I've given this a table a width of 708 pixels, border of 0, cell spacing and cell padding of 1. Next, we'll create a table row. And inside this table row, we'll need to create two columns. One column will contain my business website, and the second will contain the call us today and then the phone number. So this is the syntax for the first column. So the column has a width of 338 pixels, text alignment of left. We've attached a font attribute. So there's really nothing new going on there. We've also added strong tags around the My Business text, so it gives it that bold look. And create a break, and then the website text, and then we've closed off the column. Now we'll create the second column, which contains the phone number. And it's almost the same thing. So it's a column. Just the width is slightly different. It's a bit smaller. This time the text is aligned to the right. As you can see, its alignment is to the right here. Now we've attached a font attribute, made the call us today text bold, and then the phone number. So there it is. With our callout bar created, the next thing we'll do is insert the table that contains our main image. We'll create this table under our callout table. Inside this table, create a table row. And inside the table row, create a table column. Give this column an alignment attribute set to center, because we want the image to be in the center of the column. And inside this column, create a nested table. Then create a table row. And insert the column that contains the image. Now this image can be found in your downloads folder. So you can use this image, or you can use another image of your choosing. So you can see we've given this column a center alignment attribute. We've inserted the image with a source attribute set to the image name. And remember to keep this image in the same folder that your HTML page is stored in, and then set the width and height of the image as well. Now press refresh, and you can see that the image is inserted. So with our image inserted, the next thing to do is create a table that contains this bit of text here. We'll create this table underneath our last table. Then create a table row. Now create a table column. I've set this the column, the height, to 72 pixels, Horizontal alignment to center and vertical alignment to top. That means the text will start at the top of the column. Now we'll create a nested table inside the column and a table row. And then the column that will contain the actual text. Okay, so this column has a width of 726 pixels, alignment of center. We've attached a font attribute to style the text, and that's it. Just close the font tag and also close the column and refresh the page. The next thing to do here is to create this Contact Us Today link and also the form to register for the newsletter. So we'll go ahead and do that. So again, we'll start by creating a table to contain those sections. Next, create a table row. And inside this table row, create a table column. This column, give it a height of 72 pixels, alignment of center, and vertical alignment of top. And this is what's going to hold the Contact Us Today button. Inside this column, create a table. So this table contains the orange background color that you see here. So this here is the hex code for that color. And we've also set a width of 313 pixels, cell spacing and padding of 3. I'll create a table row. Now create the column that holds the Contact Us Today text. And we've given this column a width of 301 pixels, center alignment, a no wrap attribute, font color white, size 5, and font face. We've also attached a link. Now the link is just a number sign because we don't want it to actually go anywhere. And so make sure you do attach the link using the A element in the href attribute surrounding the Contact Us Today text. I'll refresh the page so we can see that the button is now there and the link is active. Now we'll need to create another table row inside this table. Now create a table column. Give this column a height of 72 pixels as well, alignment of center and vertical alignment of top. Inside this column, we're going to have our heading for the form element, register for our newsletter. And underneath the heading, we're going to have the actual form. So we've given the form the name contact, method post action send.php. This will not work until we actually create the send.php file. And again, we're going to be covering that in the PHP section of this course if you are taking this as part of the Web Development Masterclass. We've created an input, a text input, and we've named it email. And we've created a submit button as well. And that's it. So if we press refresh, we now have our text heading and the form element with the button. So the next thing we want to do here is create this table. And the table has 3 columns and 2 rows. In the first row, we have the headings. In the second row, we have some sample text and also an unordered list. So we'll go ahead and create that now. We'll create this table underneath our last. So we'll start with the table tag. Create a table row. Now create a table column. Inside this table, create a nested table. Now create another table row. This row will contain our headings. And also just note that each heading is in its own column. So here we have each column. And each column, the first two columns have a width of 268 pixels. The third one has 290. We've attached a font attribute, and we've also made the text bold. And the remaining columns are almost identical. The only thing that's different is the actual heading. So we have About Us, Our Vision, and Services. Now we'll need to create the second row, which contains all this text. So we'll create the first column inside this row, and then the second. And now the third column, which contains the list, the unordered list. And so that's it. Once we have those columns inserted, we can refresh the page, and we can see that everything is as it should be. The only thing that remains now is the footer. The last part of this page we need to create is the footer. And the footer again contains the navigation labels and also a copyright line. So again, we'll need to create a table at the end of our last one. And this table has a background color of black. That's the hex code for black. Now insert a table row. And inside this table row, insert a column. Now just go ahead and insert the content inside this column. And so we've attached a font attribute. We've inserted the labels. So home, about, services, clients, and contact. And right underneath that, after our break, we've inserted the copyright line. And so that's it. I'll save this file and refresh. And we can see the footer is now there. And I'll expand the page. And you can see that the entire page has now come together.